As Susan alluded, it may seem particularly jarring to talk about something hopeful in the Middle East today. We all here, right now, are awaiting decisions which, if nothing else, are painfully familiar to the 20th century, while I'm here to describe new forces of the 21st. But that strange, counterintuitive, even conflicting things coexist may in fact be the hallmark of our times. We are a very narrative animal. We love stories. It's very natural to us to be beholden to our stories. As the great theologian Reinhold Niebuhr said in a different context, it's when we are uncertain that we often become doubly certain. And I think that's a risk that we have to watch in this, because it is natural for us to be this way. And it allows us to miss, I would suggest, significant change that is happening in our midst. I'll give you an example of this. This summer, we all heard about and are hearing about right now terrible violence re-rising in Iraq. Few of us know that one of the largest tech IPOs, initial public offerings, where companies sell public traded stocks, was in fact AsiaCell, which is the mobile provider in Iraq. It went public in the first quarter this year for a valuation of over $5.5 billion. And even in the midst of the chaos that is happening now, its stock price is held up, and it's just having an incredible impact not only in Iraq but beyond. When most of us, or I can tell you before I got into all of this, when I think about Saudi Arabia, I usually think first and foremost that if nothing else, it is a place where women cannot drive. It seems impossible that it is also the largest on a per capita basis, consumer viewer of YouTube. And what is even more interesting is that one of the largest demographics of Saudis watching YouTube are women. And even more interesting is the largest category of content that they're watching is education. They're finding education and teaching themselves. Egypt's political instability is profound. The violence is terrible. Leslie Jump is here, who's a great entrepreneur and has been very valuable in being a venture capitalist in Egypt. She and I know two entrepreneurs who were killed last week or 2 weeks ago in Egypt. This is very real. At the same time, Egypt has the largest population of internet and mobile users in the Middle East, with one of the largest youth populations in the world. It's a large consumer market in the early days of e-commerce, and one day it will be, so help me, once again, a global tourist destination. Last month, in an incredible time of uncertainty, exports rose 25% year over year. Pent-up demand, people ask about, because there is much activity that's on the sidelines. All it took was a coup for the stock market to rise 10%, and on and on and on. Look, I can't tell you what's going to happen tomorrow or in the next 6 months in the Middle East. The terrible scenarios are there, and we all in this room know them well, and they are terribly, terribly real. But I can tell you that within 3 years, there is going to be a lot, and I mean a lot, more technology in the hands of a lot more people throughout the region. Right now, as I speak, and Booz and Company and Google just did a study, said that in the Arab world, among young people, people under 35, internet users are growing 23% per year. That compares to 14% around the entire globe, not just developed nations, but the entire globe. Of those people online, 83% use the internet daily, half of them 5 hours a day. A whopping 78% prefer the internet to television. And 40%, which will be important when I speak about this in a moment, 40% say they intend to start their own business sometime in the next year or two. They are spending in the Middle East over $1 billion online, which most experts think will double within the next 2 to 3 years. The offline retail space, just to put it in context, is roughly $425 billion. And fewer than 15% of the businesses in the Arab world overall even have online presences yet. So think about the ramifications of that with some time. 2/3 of people go online in the Middle East to research their offline purchases. Now, in the foreword of my book, a wonderful, remarkable man named Marc Andreessen, who some of you will remember was the founder of Netscape. He literally invented the browser. There was no browser before Marc Andreessen, and he's now one of the most admired venture capitalists in Silicon Valley. He predicts that within a decade, there are going to be over 5 billion smartphones around the world. 5 billion smartphones. I can tell you that in my own research, mobile providers told me when I was over there that they expect 50% penetration, meaning 50% of people in Egypt will have smartphones. And by the way, right now in many Gulf countries, they've already surpassed this number. Now, as many of you know, smartphones are not just phones. They are not merely highfalutin telephones and telephony. They are certainly not just entertainment devices, though they assuredly are that. But stop and think about what they really are. These are supercomputers, literally the computing capacity that put a man on the moon in the pockets of billions of people around the world. This means billions of people are going to have at their fingertips, and essentially for free, most of the world's collective knowledge. This means billions will have the ability to affordably connect, share, collaborate, and reach markets unthinkable less than a decade before. Something, I suggest, good has got to come